Good morning. I'm still reporting on the coup. I grew up in Virginia. I've covered just about every political race in detail for decades. I've even covered 3 Klan cross burnings. I printed one fuzzy picture of a cross burning, but back then, late 1970s, we didn't have digital cameras. We only had black and white film. We could push that film to its light gathering limit and still only have a blurry image of those cross burnings. They really were spectacular, however. We're not talking about a cross made of 8-foot lumber from Lowe's. These were crosses made from custom sawed lumber, 30, 40, perhaps 50 feet high, a single piece of lumber. The atmosphere was always scary, dark, with a cloud of oppressive evil hovering over it. The Klansmen in their white sheets and little pointy hats, the crowd carrying baseball bats or guns. The air was thick with cigarette and cigar smoke, and all of it was protected by the cops. You knew not to step out of line. Heck, I was even fearful to try to photograph it. But those days are gone. The last cross burning was somewhere between Warrenton, Virginia and Charlottesville around 1980. That's 37 years ago. That's also the last time I've seen any Klansman dressed in his sheet. Until yesterday. Why is love of one's nation suddenly associated with a Nazi swastika? Who would do that? And since when has the Nazi symbol been associated with the flag of the Confederacy? Who would do that? And since when is any of this to be associated with the NRA? Not in my lifetime. Real hunters would never go around waving assault rifles in threatening fashion. That's not what the NRA is about. You know right away that screams agent provocateurism. Why is it that Klansmen in full sheet suddenly pop up in broad daylight in the most liberal small city in Virginia, Charlottesville? Could this really all be in defense of Robert E. Lee? Now, I don't agree with pulling down these statues. This is destruction of history. They were put there as something solid to remind people of history, knowing a day would come when history is no longer taught. These statues have been coming down all around the nation, but no KKK folk have appeared. The Virginia State Police announced last night that most of the so-called white nationalist crowd were from out of state. Who financed their travels? Typically, they aren't the most wealthy folk. These people have been thoroughly infiltrated by the FBI for many, many years. Certainly they know if there was money thrown their way to travel to Charlottesville. This smells like a setup to me. Someone is deliberately staging racial violence once again to try to blame it on President Trump. It's a shallow, pitifully weak attempt, but that doesn't matter to, number one, the foreign press, especially the British press, and number two, the far-left true believers. Trump folks aren't buying this. They see it for what it is. And what it is has a name: agent provocateur. It's an old French word going back to at least the days of the storming of the Bastille. This from the Wikipedia entry. In the United States, the COINTEL program of the Federal Bureau of Investigation included FBI agents posing as political activists to disrupt the activities of political groups in the U.S., such as the Ku Klux Klan. I learned about agent provocateurs early in life, 1971, up close and personal when I attended the big anti-war rallies in 1971 on the Mall in Washington, where the largest crowd ever protested the Vietnam War. I pushed my way to the front lines between the protesters and the police to get pictures. There was no violent intent on the part of the millions gathered, but I saw a small group of maybe 30 or 40 push their way to the front and start throwing rocks and bottles at the police. They were not part of the main group, but clearly there to try to incite a riot. And that gave the police justification to start lobbing tear gas canisters into the crowd. Folks, the forces of evil are at work here. They know no civil bounds. They will do anything to take Trump down. Please stay strong and pray for our president, that he and his family remain safe, and that the Holy Spirit of the living God shows him how to escape this McMaster web he's caught in. I'm still reporting from Washington. Good day.